Oh, okay. Studio is limited to 10 people on screen. Please remove someone before add another.
How many are we? 8, 10? Oh,
yes.
Dean. Oh, hold on. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, we are live. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hey. Okay.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, hello. Sorry for delay. We were trying to configure this streaming. It's always not easy just to work with. We use a StreamYard for YouTube translations. And yeah. So we'll start with a warm-up. Like we will wait for a couple of minutes until other people who wanted to attend will join to the YouTube video, YouTube stream. And yeah, right now let's just chat for a couple of minutes about weather. I can start. So I live right now in Krakow, in Poland, and for last 2 weeks we had a lot of snow. We had like, I don't know, 50 centimeters of snow. It was super great. It was like a winter tale. I know, it was great. But now when Christmas is near, it's just like autumn weather. It's just wet and constantly raining, and all snow melted. So yeah, but it was cool 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm also from Krakow, so just what he said.
The same here from Poland. I currently reside in Wrocław. We also had snow, but now it's melting and it looks more of an autumn right now. But still, we are expecting a little bit of snow on Christmas. So finger crossed.
It was perfect weather in Berlin several days ago, where Christmas markets were open and was snowing nice. Beautiful. However, right now it's more raining than snowing.
Yeah. So, and in the Netherlands, Christmas markets are opening as well, but no snow, just wind and rain, as you may expect from the Netherlands.
It looks like we all have the same trend in weather.
Yeah.
But we in Prague, in South Czech, we had a couple really heavy snowy days, and there were around half a meter of snow. But now the temperature is just several degrees below zero, and we have a wet surface without any snow or ice.
So I'll just add to that, but we basically don't really get snow in Ireland, or at least not in Dublin. So it's always kind of mild, which is nice. So no snow, but nice and mild.
Maybe it's just because you didn't prolong your snow subscription.
Probably. I forgot to renew that. Yeah.
Is it like never snow, or a snow day once in a few years?
It's very rare. I think that probably once a year, and then it'll just last maybe 2 hours. Since I've lived here, there's only been one proper snow and then the country stopped because nobody's used to it, and you just can't do anything. It lasted 2 weeks, which was really unusual.
Yeah, I remember when I lived in UK. The snow in UK is also rare. I lived not for long, like for 2 years, and I was lucky to get one snowy day. And on that snowy day, I took out of office 1 day off just to go to the park and see how it looks like in snow. Okay. I think we can start. It's already 6 minutes. So I will start with my presentation. And yeah, the way we will go, I will ask to remove yourself from the stage. So we will don't have many token heads on the presentation. And then on each presentation, we will add the person who will be speaking about it. Yeah, and also those who remove yourself from the stage, please mute yourself as well. But I guess it's automatically. Okay, I will start. So welcome everyone to our meetup, which we are trying to do every quarter to give updates on the project, on the team, on what we do, and also to answer questions from the community if you have one. Feel free to type your questions on the YouTube stream page in the chat. We will see those questions and we will try to answer them once the person who is speaking ends his presentation, or in the very end of the meetup, and we will have the AMA session. On the screen right now, you see the agenda for today's meetup. We have plenty of talks today. I hope you will find them interesting. We will start with my presentation, which is called "What's new in VictoriaMetrics" at fourth quarter of 2023. And it's very the year is near to its end, and I hope everyone has their really good mood before Christmas. And yeah, I hope you will enjoy our meetup, and then you will enjoy the Christmas, and everyone will be happy with 2023. Okay, so what's new with VictoriaMetrics project in Q4 of 2023? So we added a new feature which is supposed to improve performance or latency for instant queries served by vmselect or by vmsingle. So for those who know, there are two APIs for querying data: range API and instant API. Range API is used for querying, for using in dashboards. Your Grafana dashboards are probably using range API. Range API implies that you query like time range of data, like last day, last 3 hours. This is range API. And also there is instant API. Instant API is querying the last data point, and it's usually used for alerting rules or recording rules. So from the very beginning, vmselect and VictoriaMetrics components responsible for querying, they had a rollup cache thing for range queries. Rollup cache supposed to reduce the pressure on the database and make repeated queries much faster, because VictoriaMetrics will request only that data which was not cached on the previously requested range. So for example, you plot in some metric on the range of 6 hours and you have step of 30 minutes. This will produce you 12 data points. So VictoriaMetrics will cache 11 of those data points, or maybe less. It will cache those data points that are not going to change anymore, like those data points in the past that will not get updated on the next evaluation. So next time when you repeat this query, like in 30 minutes or an hour or in 2, VictoriaMetrics will realize that it is the same query it served before, and it already has the majority of data points saved in the cache. So what it will do, it will serve like 11 of those data points from the cache, and we'll ask from the database only the recent data points that got updated between this iteration and previous iteration. So this heavily reduces the pressure on the backend and makes queries faster, range queries faster. But with instant queries, which are used for alerting rules, it doesn't work like that, because instant queries, they do not have step. There is like no gradation, no separate data points. You always receive a one value, and this value will change each time when you execute the query. So there is nothing to cache here. It's always a sliding time window which need to be recalculated on each iteration. And this is especially ineffective for alerting rules or recording rules for calculating SLI and SLO objectives. So, for example, here's example of a common SLI calculation to calculate ratio of successful requests, and it does that on the 3-day range. Usually, such rules are executed with like 30-second or 60-second intervals, and each time they got executed, they fetch like 3 days of data from the backend. It is very expensive because it doesn't use any caches, and it is so in other systems too. In Prometheus and Tanas, Cortex, and Mimir, it works like that. You always reread the data, but not in VictoriaMetrics anymore. So starting from 195, Alex added an optimization which works similarly to rollup cache. So for a limited number of functions listed on the column that you see, vmselect now will apply an optimization if the range in the instant query is more than 6 hours. But this can be reconfigured with the mentioned flag on the slide. So when it exceeds this interval, instant queries will be using cache. So there is a complex internal implementation which breaks these instant queries on the smaller steps, and those premeditatory results can be cached by vmselect, and then instant queries will be improved. Their performance will be improved, repetitive performance. So yeah, I encourage everyone to try it, to test it, and yeah, and report how it works for you. Okay, what's next? So recently, vmagent got an improvement to its user interface. So vmagent can work as in a cluster mode. You may want to use cluster mode of vmagent if you want to scrape big number of targets. For example, you have 1,000 of targets, and one vmagent can't handle that gracefully. So you can run 2 vmagents in the cluster mode, and they will shard the targets among themselves. So each shard will scrape like 500 of those targets. You can set arbitrary number of shards, and now in the user interface of vmagent, you can see which targets are scraped by this shard and which targets are scraped by other shards. And then you can have a link pointing to the name of the other shard, and you can press on that link and you will be taken to another vmagent shard to see what's happened to its targets exactly. This is available with a command line flag, new command line flag called member URL template, where you can template the URL based on the shard number for your vmagent shards. This is super useful for debugging any issues with scraping the targets, and when you need to check which shard is failing to scrape and why. What is the error message for that shard to scrape the target? Okay. Also, vmagent got 2 new integrations. So now there is an integration with Google PubSub and with NewRelic infrastructure agent. Thanks for Dima Lazerka and Nikolai Ramtichin for working on the PubSub integration, and to Dmitry Kozlov for adding integration with NewRelic. So you can integrate vmagent with these 2 tools as well. Other updates are related to vmagent. Now vmagent supports new command line flags, like more command line flags. Enable multi-tenant handlers, which basically makes vmagent to look like vm insert from the cluster URLs perspective. So it can support multi-tenant URLs. You can basically ingest data with distinct tenants in the label or in URLs into vmagent, and then it will forward the data to the VM insert without spending extra resources like it was before, and in more convenient way. So please check that as well. Next improvement is that you can now disable persistent queue for vmagent. This can be useful when vmagent used in integration with Kafka, so it will stop consume data if remote storage doesn't respond instead of buffering it on the disk. And also it can be useful for very high-loaded situation when vmagent runs on an instance with slow disks, and persistent data on the queue can slow down the scraping because disks are too slow to keep the queue updated fast enough. And another update is that now you can shard data. So vmagent now can shard data across multiple remote write URLs. This is useful for chaining vmagents or building chaining streaming aggregation thing. And now you can specify the rule which will be used for sharding data. For example, you can specify one specific label or list of labels which will be used in the hash function. So you can basically say that all metrics with label environment equal prod will go to some specific destination. Okay, what else? vmcluster got an enhancement to ease the effect from rerouting. So all you know, when you do a rolling updates to the cluster, restarting VM storages, there is a thing in the cluster called rerouting, which means when VM insert can't push data to to the storage because it is down or doesn't respond, it will reroute data to another VM storage. And on high-loaded cluster setups, this rerouting could lead to unstable situation of for the cluster. Everything can start being laggy for significant periods of time. So now, thanks to Zahar, we have an improvements on this. So now you can ease this period by extending VM insert connection shutdown duration. What basically happens when you set this flag is that VM storage starts gradually to turn off each VM insert connection, which it handles right now, which is supposed to make this rerouting longer, but without significant performance degradation for that. Try it. It is by default set to 25 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, so it should be working right now. But if you still experience issues with rerouting enhancement, try to bump this command line flag to 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or something like that. It will make the rolling updates longer, but it is more safe to do so. Okay, what else? Now you can test your alerting rules with a new tool called vmalert-tool. And thanks to Haley for implementing this thing. It is super cool. Now you can do the similar stuff that you do with prompt tool, or could do with prompt tool, but using MetricSQL and VictoriaMetrics as a data storage. So please take a read. It's a super cool update. Okay, vmauth updates. Recently, in the recent release, vmauth got update of load balancing policy, and now it can work in hot standby balancing mode, which means it will stick to the first backend which responded with success to the request, and all subsequent requests will be sent to that backend. If that backend fails to respond, vmauth will reroute the request to another backend and will stick to it until it fails. When it is useful, well, when you have multiple availability zones which contain the replicas of the data. So you can, with this mode, vmauth will send all requests to one availability zone, and only if that availability zone will fail to respond because of some outage or network issues, it will switch to another availability zone, to the second in the list, and will stick to it. This is supposed to make multi-AZ setups easier for vmauth. vmui got support of functions and labels in autocomplete. It is already live on our playground. You can check it. So now all MetricSQL functions are automatically updated on each release. and fetch to the vmui. So now you can read the full description of the function. And also you can have this auto suggest for labels and label values. And yeah, it's those updates that can be visualized somehow, but there are plenty of other updates to vmagent, to vmalert, vmauth, vmui, to cluster components. There are new functions from MetricsQL. There are many updates for Grafana dashboards and alerting rules, and bug fixes and improvements to Helm charts and Kubernetes operators. So I encourage everyone to check our change logs. We trying to carefully put every change there. Yeah, so you may find many interesting things. Okay, that's me. And next talk will be from Ivan Yatskevich. Ivan, are you on stage? I'm putting you on stage, and I'm adding your presentation on stage as well. And I'm removing myself.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Roman. Thank you for this exciting updates about the VictoriaMetrics itself. And yeah, and briefly about myself, I'm Ivan, and I'm responsible for our managed VictoriaMetrics product. And to all of you who don't know what is managed VictoriaMetrics, I'll briefly describe it. So basically, it's a managed service which runs on enterprise components of VictoriaMetrics and carefully configured with like optimal parameters for VictoriaMetrics single node and cluster installations, providing multiple tiers so that you can choose a tier suitable for your workloads. And if the existing tier is not enough, then you can easily upgrade, or when the workload decreases, you can easily downgrade your instance. And what we did during these 2 months, we were working on long-awaited feature of alerting and recording rules, and during this week we were making like final touches to the user interface and functioning of this functionality inside of managed VictoriaMetrics. And starting from the next week, we'll be contacting those of you who contacted us about the participation in our private beta of this feature, and we'll be rolling out it to those who signed up for the private beta. What will deliver in scope of it, basically configuration of alerting rules and recording rules, so you'll be able to run it from inside of the managed environment, not running it on your side, and will provide integration with Alert Manager so that you can receive alerts on your side and dispatch and leave everything configured on your side as is. And speaking about our plans, definitely we're gonna release it publicly, but it will take some time to stabilize and act based on the feedback of our beta users. And definitely we'll be working on usability improvements, fixing slight UI issues and stuff, making the product more pleasing for you. Yeah, and if you have any questions or still want to participate in our private beta, you can contact me directly on Slack or by writing an email. So yeah, that's all from my side.
Okay, thanks, Ivan. And I want to remind that you can leave, audience can leave questions on the YouTube stream page, and we will read them as soon as possible. Okay, next one, Daria Karavaieva and Fred Navruzov. I'm adding to you to stage.
Yeah, thank you very much, Roman, and hi everyone. Thanks for the opportunity and thanks to previous speakers for making it happen. I mean, always need updates. And today, myself and Daria will briefly present VM anomaly detection, which we have for anomaly detection for metrics data here at VictoriaMetrics. So my name is Fred Navruzov. I'm product manager and data scientist at VictoriaMetrics anomaly detection. And here with me is Daria Karavaieva, who is ML engineer. So here I included some recap slides for those who missed our previous quarter meetup. So briefly here we talk about what anomaly detection is and what it can, or how it can harm your business if not properly and timely treated. I mean, anomalies in your data that is left unnoticed. And as Roman said before, monitoring itself is a hard task. Anomaly detection is even a harder task, and anomaly detection for time series data, which is metrics, is even hardest because it has specific effects like trends, seasonality, or some different anomaly patterns. And a small spoiler here: once our meetup ends, you will get all these decks, and you can follow hyperlinks, and those in particular they points out to our recent blog post series, which is anomaly detection handbook. So please, we welcome you to try it out. So we all speak one language in anomaly detection and monitoring. And here's also one recap slides of why ML for anomaly detection. Just because simply there is no silver bullet, and you cannot just simply rely on some threshold-based alerting in your monitoring setup because of this time series nature of the metrics itself. And also, once you have this constant thresholding, it simply doesn't scale once you have a huge setup. So you have to properly update your setup. That's why some kind of automation and insights are needed here. And here we talk about, in particular, what we have for anomaly detection at VictoriaMetrics. So first of all, why VictoriaMetrics? Because it's a service that's simple to set up and to debug. It integrates well with our ecosystem. It has support for so-called collective and contextual anomalies. More on that you can find in our guide. And also we started a new POC, which is root cause analysis, which can help you in faster and efficient debugging of incidents that you have in your metrics. When particular alert can be just a signal that something happens more deep in your setup, and you have to drill down. And also we have a neat feature, which is unified alerting rules, because all produced anomaly scores are made in such a way that if the score fails in the range of 1 to 0, it will be considered as a typical pattern or non-anomaly. And if it exceeds 1, so the data point can be considered as abnormal. So it simplifies your alerting rules that you can put at top of produced anomaly scores. And here we have slides about what we have in Q4. Well, so, I'm sorry. In Q4. So we had the recent release 1.6, and you can follow the links to Helm charts and to Docker. It focused on improved stability and better integration. And our new release is coming, where we will have some additional features, schedulers, and an introduction of UI, which will ease your setup of configuring and testing particular configurations for your anomaly setups. And as I mentioned previously, we started a new blog post series, which is a handbook on anomaly detection and root cause analysis. So please follow the links. It has a neat introduction and glossary all of us use in observability and anomaly detection setup. It also has some definitions of commonly found anomaly types in time series data. It also sheds some light on techniques and models that you can utilize to conquer this complex world of anomaly detection. And yet coming soon is the article about root cause analysis. We expect corresponding tag, which is anomaly detection and follow. And here I pass the floor to Daria.
Yeah. Can I? Can you turn on my presentation?
Can you see the screen?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I will take it from here. My name is Daria. Hi, everyone. So what's coming next is graphic user interface for VM anomaly detection, where you can set up, tweak, and evaluate anomaly detection easier and faster, and you can visually make sure that your machine learning model is accommodating to your data patterns. So next, please. Yeah. Also, presets for node exporter alerting are coming, and there's no one-fits-all solution in anomaly detection, and it's a better way to tackle smaller scope of problems with presets and reactive alerting, not relying solely on static thresholding, because relying on static thresholds may work badly because of variability in your workload. Because of increased rate of false positive, it causes alerting fatigue, and because of false negatives as well. Because of scaling challenges, because resources may vary significantly across setups. Also because of seasonality and time of day patterns, system may exhibit different behaviors at different times. And because of maintenance overhead, because managing all those static thresholds for a large number of metrics can be very cumbersome. So we can try to solve those problems with a VM anomaly detection tool, where we can catch sudden shifts in metric patterns that don't necessarily breach predefined static threshold if something crashed or overloaded before those thresholds were reached. We can account for seasonal variations in data, reducing false positives and improving alert accuracy. And we can adapt to environmental changes such as modification in resources or load patterns, as these changes establish a new normal. Doing all that, we can simplify alerting rules, introducing a unified anomaly thresholds, and establishing consistent alerting intervals, which reduces the need for manual human intervention. Next, please. Yeah. Altogether, presets consist of the configuration files for anomaly detection models, including predefined queries for node exporter metrics. Again, not all of them, only those that work badly with static thresholds and those that prove their efficiency during our experiments. Also, you'll get alerting rules to monitor anomaly scores generated by these models, and complementary awesome alerts, the default alerts for not addressed by anomaly detection, and VM anomaly detection Grafana dashboard for node exporter health check. Next one. VM anomaly detection tool is a part of enterprise offering in VictoriaMetrics, but you can request a trial license here and for testing purposes, and all you need to do is contact us together with addressing further questions. That's all from our anomaly detection team. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, for being with us. And we pass the floor to the next speaker. In case there are
thanks, Fred.
any questions,
and
ask them.
Yeah, there is a question. I'll try to show it. So the question is, will VM anomaly presets be included to Helm charts?
I assume it
yes.
will.
Yes, we have plans for that.
Okay, it was a quick answer. Okay, thank you, guys. So the next speaker, we will have a series of talks next from guests of VictoriaMetrics, and next speaker is Egor Pronin. I will add you shortly to the stage. Okay, hi Egor. Can you control your presentation?
Hello, I think, yes.
Okay, cool.
Hello, guys. Hello, team. Thanks, previous speakers. I want to introduce myself. My name is Egor Pronin. I work as cloud architect in WEDOS. We are the largest Czech hosting company with own data centers, where we have more than 10,000 own servers. And one of my main tasks since starting at the company has been monitoring. Since ancient times, the company had its own Java-based monitoring system tracking basic servers parameters, CPU, memory, free space, and file systems. The monitoring server periodically pinged targets, which served as an indicator of server availability. This simple and all system collected basic metrics and displayed alerts on the monitor in the duty administrator's office. It operated on a server agent model, where an agent was installed on each server to collect data and send it to the server every minute. Besides monitoring servers and applications, the system also controlled engineering infrastructure indicators. With the development of infrastructure and modernization of data centers, there arose a need to display data on temperature, humidity, and so on in server rooms to administrators. The system is also used in our new data center with oil cooling. Here, many more sensors and detectors are installed, and the monitoring system is still under heavy development. Additionally, the system will be connected to our other engineering systems of data center, such as lighting, ventilation, and air conditioning, as well as blinds and gates. After introducing myself with the existing monitoring system and its limitations, I decided to use Zabbix, as it was the most suitable for our purposes and tasks at that moment. However, we quickly abandoned Zabbix due to the company's transition to Kubernetes. In the new conditions, Zabbix no longer met our growing needs and didn't fit into the concept of transitioning to Kubernetes. We began searching for a Kubernetes native solution and settled on Prometheus. All initial setup on the new monitoring system, as well as my personal acquaintance with the internals of Kubernetes, was done on it. We added targets, wrote alert rules, and experimented with creating our own exporters. However, over time, it became clear that Prometheus couldn't handle the rapidly growing server park and application after scaling, causing out-of-memory errors. That's when I learned about VictoriaMetrics. The transition was smooth. First, we turned off that data collection in Prometheus, leaving it only as storage, and distributed the data collection and discovery tasks to vmagents. But it was painful to see how long Prometheus took to start, sometimes up to an hour and a half. Why bother with configuring and tuning if everything is ready from the scratch in VictoriaMetrics? Thus, we fully transitioned to monitoring using the VictoriaMetrics ecosystem. Today, the entire monitoring service in our company can be divided into two parts, core and components. At WEDOS, we actively use Kubernetes. Currently, we operate 8 production clusters located in our own data centers. Each production cluster has its corresponding staging cluster. For orchestration and management of all our servers and clusters, we use kubefarm tool. The core of our monitoring system includes the following components: hot and cold storages, data storage for 3 months with 30-second interval, and for 5 years at 5 minutes and intervals, respectively. vminsert, vmselect, vmauth, vmalert, vmsingle, and monitoring of monitoring itself. Non-VictoriaMetrics components include Grafana and Postgres for it, and webhook for Rocket Chat using vmalert. As the architect of the monitoring service, I provide a basic set of monitoring components and expertise. integrated into the Kube Farm project and automatically deployed in each new cluster. This includes Kube State Metrics, Metric Server, Node Exporter. There is also a set of manifests for deploying the core of the monitoring system, but they haven't been used yet. Developers in our company have the opportunity to independently deploy exporters along their applications. Metrics are automatically discovered by vmagent thanks to configured annotations, after which they begin to be recorded in storage. After several months of experiments and observations, I concluded that the optimal option is to use 4 instances of vmagent per each cluster, which fully meets our needs and ensures an even distribution of load between the instances. In addition to our 2 own data centers, we are also deploying a CDN network called WEDOS Global Protection. The goal of this project is to protect our clients' websites from various attacks and provide the fastest possible site response time for visitors from anywhere in the world. Currently, we have more than 1,000 servers in 28 different locations around the world. In this service, we also use VictoriaMetrics components for monitoring, vmagent, exporters, and a bunch of rules for vmalert. In each point of presence, we deploy a Kubernetes cluster with all monitoring components and 1 vmagent. vmagent sends metrics to remote write URLs every 30 seconds to 1 minute. All metrics from this service we also store in 2 central VM storages, part of which we already provide to our users through Grafana. Here you can look at our current workload. First, it is our hot cluster. It has 6.2 trillions of data points, 165 million data ingestion rate, 31.2 million of active series, and just only 0.84 bytes per data point. Second one, it's called storage. The values are 718 billion of the data points, 1.25 million data ingestion rate, 18.6 million active series, and 0.91 byte per data point. Recently, I conducted testing of a new VictoriaMetrics component, VictoriaMetrics logs, vmlogs. Having experience with Loki, I was pleasantly surprised by the performance increase. During the test, I launched a single instance of vmlogs in staging and redirected all the load from Loki to it. The vmlogs container consumed significantly fewer resources compared to Loki. However, unfortunately, the testing didn't go beyond the experimental stage. In conclusion, I want to know that I have never regretted the decision to trust VictoriaMetrics products and was able to convene the business of the reliability, the predictability, and stability of the products of this ecosystem. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Egor. It was a cool presentation. I also like that servers need to be cooled with oil. It's like
I want to say some excuse for my slides with architecture, with core, with components. But anyone who wants to inspect it, they can download the presentation and look deeper into it, because unfortunately I couldn't fit it into one slide.
Yes. All the presentation will be available after the meetup. DJ, I believe, will add them. Will add links to the YouTube stream page. So yeah, you will be able to find them afterwards, and also leave comments, and we will also look after those comments, and we will address them if there is something to answer on. Okay, thank you very much, Egor. The next speaker is Andrey Tyulenev. Andrey?
Yes.
Yes, 1 second. I'm still managing staging.
Okay.
Okay, and here's
Fine.
your presentation.
Nice. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. I work for Deutsche Bank more than 10 years now. However, as a civil engineer, I have quite a new experience for only 1 year. And in my new team, we have a small cluster of VictoriaMetrics configuration. Interestingly, I want to say that interestingly that in Deutsche Bank, it happens to be at least two separate teams who decided to go with VictoriaMetrics as a long-term metric storage, totally separate without even knowing of each other. And I guess recently discovered another team with a large cluster of this large configuration of VictoriaMetrics, scale it up to 7,000 targets, scale it for the whole part of Deutsche Bank called Investment Bank. And they have VictoriaMetrics cluster where they combine metrics from both UIT, dev, and productional data sources. They decided to go with this configuration, and they have a full managed, fully utilized VictoriaMetrics OSS configuration with have availability configuration with servers, pairs of servers resided in different data centers, with separate servers for storage and separate servers for non-storage components of VictoriaMetrics and Alert Manager. They, as you can see, have more than 7,000 active targets, almost 6,000 terabyte disk usage, and 20 trillion data points. And it's a large figures. And I'm kind of proud to present his achievements, his size on our in this presentation. In my team, we have a larger, quite smaller instance of VictoriaMetrics, only for one team and like 10 applications. However, we have decided more than 2 years ago to go with a separate configuration of VictoriaMetrics. We decided to have separate cluster for UIT dev of all non-productional instances and VictoriaMetrics cluster for productional only instances. So that we can minimize the risk of having anything, having metrics, alerts, important for decision in one VictoriaMetrics storage. We are also using free version of VictoriaMetrics cluster. We're not using VM agents. We're just pushing data from Prometheus directly through VM inserts directly to VM cluster. However, I plan to migrate to fully scaled VM configuration and get rid of Prometheus, even for the routing part itself. Some of our servers, some applications use work on Linux servers, some in Kubernetes cluster, OpenShift Kubernetes cluster. And we have a federated structure where each namespace in Kubernetes cluster has their own Prometheus gathering metrics from ports and services, and we collect all the metrics in the central storage. So we have obviously Grafana to work with, all the metrics, all the dashboards. That's interesting to observe how differently our team and this investment bank part team decided to make an architectural decision how we are configured, how we're scaled. For example, they make a very interesting and very good scale configuration how different team, which wants to onboard to this setup or can onboard the application by adding the special repository into the project and DevOps mechanism provided by the team can automatically grab their project, get targets configuration file and rules configuration file for vmalert, and then combine all these files, check them, and deploy them into the VM cluster, so that application can easily add, remove, manage their targets, their own alerts. We decided to go another way. We decided to use one repository for all targets, all rules. However, we utilize console, HashiCorp console as a dynamic repository of all targets, so that in our configuration we refer to the name of the service, and particular targets are stored in this console, HashiCorp console. This allows us to easily manage targets dynamically through API calls. As I said, we utilize federated structure of Prometheus to gather metrics from Kubernetes clusters and the number of counter of clusters. And with this unified configuration, it helps me to maintain unified structure of labels, so that we could mark each application team with unified labels, and later be able to rely on the labels to distinguish alerts and metrics from different applications. We are happy with using VictoriaMetrics in our teams. That's not only I am happy, I just can transfer that other team is also confident with their decision to go with VictoriaMetrics, and I plan to continue with it. That's basically it. I will not do some details of our configuration. Just want to tell everyone thanks. Thanks for the instrument, and that's all from my side right now. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for your talk. And it's very interesting that different teams using VictoriaMetrics differently in the same organization.
Yeah, you know, that's Deutsche Bank Tech Center is quite a large structure, especially Berlin Tech Center, which recently created, and we're actually hiring. And I just incidentally found out through searching through our conference that, wow, there is a large team in different parts of Deutsche Bank. They also have VictoriaMetrics, and right now I'm just finding out their experience, and we are sharing experience of each other. Like just last week, I showed them vmui. They didn't know about it.
Yeah, you can do your own meetups in Deutsche Bank.
I will.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrey.
Thank you.
Andrey. So next speaker is Carsten Aulbert. Let me find you first.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Hello,
That's
Carsten.
Hi. Okay. So thanks for inviting me. And the VictoriaMetrics teams asked me to do something, how we use VictoriaMetrics for our cluster, which is a bit of a problem because we just started using it a bit more than 2 months ago. So I'll just rush you briefly through the odyssey we endured over the past years and how we landed at VictoriaMetrics in the end. First, my institute, we are fully fundamental research, fundamental research institute, the Albert Einstein Institute. It's the largest research institute in the world, specializing in gravitational wave or general relativity in total. It was founded in Potsdam in 1995. It's part of the Max Planck Society. And I'm working in the experimental data analysis branch in Hanover, which exists since 2002. My background is basically I'm a physicist, specialized in simulation and data analysis. I did geophysics, did some analysis of gravitational wave data, worked mainly on rotating neutron stars, pulsars of electromagnetic data. And well, nowadays I just turned tracks or switched tracks to IT. I'm one of the admins for the Atlas Compute Cluster. It's a 450 square meter, 1 megawatt data center here in Hanover. We have roughly 3,000 bare metal servers, very few virtual machines or containers right now. All in all, we have about 80,000 CPU cores, and we only have 3 FTEs for managing everything from user support, fixing problems, planning, and do all the administrative tasks in the background. In the beginning, so our group started in 2007. All there was basically on the free market, open source market was Ganglia, Nagios, CF Engine, or other horrors of the past. You had these nice rainbow colored graphs you can see here, and which is nice in the beginning, but until at some point it just wasn't anymore. Ganglia, for example, weights each machine equally. It doesn't matter if it's 4 cores or 128 cores. You can do something in the background to mitigate this somehow, but it's just a pain. And it's you stores data in round-robin databases and just generating tens of thousands of RRDs, even in RAM disk on a quite beefy machine, it didn't work out in the end. So we look for alternatives, mostly in the free and open source area. We tried really many different tools, hit bumps or roadblocks, usually very early in testing. And in the end, we wanted also something which runs in-house and we can understand at least partially how it works. And since we don't have any background in any complex foundation like OpenStack, Kubernetes, or whatever, we just wanted to have something which can run on bare metal, which is easily configurable by us and doesn't cause too many headaches. So a couple of years ago, we started with TIC. So InfluxDB was then part of the IN TIC. Was nice, but the query language was really not performing as well as we wanted it to be. So we switched tracks to Prometheus. Prometheus was nice in the beginning, worked fine, but we wanted to have some metrics for months or years, and there was no real good long-term storage solution we were aware of, and so we switched basically back to InfluxDB. Version 2 was out, much improved, but still, even coming from data analysis, having a list or flow of tables, I have really hard problems in getting my head around those data formats, and the query language was still not fast enough for our purposes. So we went back to Prometheus again, but still the problem of long-term storage still existed. So it wasn't solved. On the one hand, we like Prometheus, as I said, a lot. It's easy and simple to deploy, easy to query, either interactively in the browser or via Grafana. The node exporter is doing most of the dirty work we want to have solved. So basically all good. The pull model was a bit weird for us. Just attaching a timestamp to a data point whenever the scraping happened was weird because the data could be outdated already, don't know, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever. For some of our relevant queries, Prometheus was really slow and or even timed out, and even when we raised the limits was just timing out. And obviously, long-term storage wasn't solved, and so we went to the remote endpoints and storage options and looked at what tools are there which supported remote write and read. Didn't find anything which really spoke to us that this is a solution. At some point, we tried VictoriaMetrics, found it actually way too late. And then by accident, reading the docs, saw it's a drop-in replacement for Prometheus. So why not test it? So I set forth, as I said, about 2 months ago. This is now updated with a more recent version. And that's basically how I started. I just ran the curl command, started the VictoriaMetrics production version, copied the Prometheus configuration over, and started the binary. Done and dusted. Everything was starting up. No real errors, except some things couldn't be found at the beginning. And after a few minutes, I already had more than 1,000 machines actively scraped. All nice. About 2 months in, we have 6.3 million time series with 50 million label pairs. Completely not optimized. This is just testing and getting our feet wet. And in the end, it looks nice and seems to work. And the stress on the machine, it's just a single machine right now. It's really, really low. That's how we envision our data flow, how it should look like in production, maybe in January or February. So the compute servers and storage servers will just be scraping the node exporter as before. The network, just SMP, cooling, and part of our UPS power stuff is we get data from via BACnet or Modbus, and all our compute jobs are using HT Condor, and this has some features where you can just output data wherever you want. And we just settled on MQTT broker for the time being because it just looked like a very, very low resource, or it wasn't really resource intensive to collect all data and then just use our own small Ruby scripts reading that and pushing data into VictoriaMetrics. And then obviously we just need to come up with alerts, statistics in Grafana, and maybe anomaly detection down the road, because we have, don't know, 10,000s of time series, and there's possibly something we just missed because we cannot see it. So already at the conclusions, as I said, hard after less than about 90 days with it. It performs much, much better than Prometheus out of the box without any tuning. We can run queries now which are possible, which were not possible before. Storage-wise, it's amazing. It's 5 gigabytes per day right now, and in Prometheus we have 41 gigabytes per day, and I don't really know why. Obviously, I tested it already too much and made VictoriaMetrics really slow. If I just put too much stuff with too many labels in there, obviously a mistake, but we'll see, and probably we talk to the team how to fix that, or maybe just they tell me don't do that because that's just stupid. And yeah, we're just waiting for production hardware, and then we'll in January the plan is to go with a small cluster and see what happens. If you have questions, send me an email. Put it in the comments.
Okay, thank you very much, Carsten. It was really cool, really cool. Also, my wife was very amazed when I told that we will have a speaker from Max Planck Institute, and she's frankly never as amazed about what I do. So you said you're moving to IT. I'm considering maybe I need to move to physics, so my wife will be happier.
Yeah, job situation is bad in science, so that's the problem.
Yeah. Yes, but thank you very much for your talk. Okay, our next speaker is Haley. Let me find you. Yep.
Okay.
Hello.
So, hello. Hello, everyone. I'm Haley. I am a contributor in the community and also an engineer in the company. And I am, oh shoot, the slides just, Oh, shoot. Maybe I shouldn't do some graph. Yeah, that's okay. So, okay, I am Chinese, and if I'm not mistaken, I am like the only foreign guy in the team, because the first day I joined, they created a new chat channel and said we need a new one because I am the first one who doesn't speak any Slavic languages. And I was like, oh, what is that? So I Googled it and learned about 2 or 3 hours, tried to memorize a self-introduction. And the only words I can remember now is like Privyet, я Haley, which hopefully should mean hello, I'm Haley. Yeah. So okay, today I'm gonna tell my story about becoming developer from a contributor. So please forgive my doodles here. It should have 4 parts, and I don't know why it just showed the last picture. So sorry for that. It's my first presentation. I will improve. Okay, so first, like most of the VictoriaMetrics user, I used to work with Prometheus. It's a great tool and pretty easy to use. You just scrape data easily and query easily, and don't forget to check and increase memory from time to time, and that should be fine. But with time goes by, storing that many data in one Prometheus instance is pretty unuseful. So I need to pick up a long-term storage for it. So I chose Thanos without thinking. Yeah, okay, that can be the reason why I'm here now. So at first I chose Thanos because it's also a CNCF project and already been introduced by Prometheus Stack Chat from way back. So it's pretty easy to get. So I played with it for a while, nothing too much to complain. And then a coworker told me that there is another project named VictoriaMetrics, and I should try it. So as a developer, all I care is performance. So I did a little benchmark between them, and VictoriaMetrics just won in every aspect that I care. So that's it. I switched to VictoriaMetrics, and if you used it before, you know that normally you don't need to care much about it either. Just like Prometheus, it just run and work, and we are happy. So we also built a alerting system based on vmalert and alert manager, and there were something that VM operator didn't support at that time. Something about alert manager config, I remember. So I go to the GitHub, created some feature requests and implemented them and tried to get them merged. And the merge process was very smooth thanks to Liquify, who gave me quick and persuasive responses from the very beginning. So it's a good experience. And as I working with VictoriaMetrics, I started to spend more time on GitHub, just making minor fixes or enhancement, reading issues. And I have to say there some of the issues really surprised me. So it's like the guys just share loads of knowledge generously and always trying to be helpful and solve problems. So it's not like exclusive in GitHub. You can also find this in document, Slack, Telegram, and Google Groups. Basically, all the place you can just tag VictoriaMetrics and they will just show up. And yeah, of course, the source code is are great as well. So the product plus the community is, to me, it's like the Avengers after Spider-Man joined, both powerful and neighborhood friendly. No wonder they can defeat Thanos. Yeah, that's a little Marvel joke. So I did that for about 2 months and it was fun. It's like I found this new game. I explored the new zone and I gained experience by fighting small bugs. It got level up and then I want to go forward and fight bigger bosses. So according to my previous experience with open source community like Kubernetes or Istio, being a member is a good way to start. You can get more chances to talk with the other guys and plan something bigger with them. So I asked Roman because he's very active in the community. So I asked him if I can be a member as well. So, and things just happened, and now I am a developer. So this picture should be the last one. Yeah, so it's like yeah, the direction is reversed as well. So yeah, that's the final result for me. So as I was saying, now I am a developer and I have been working on this job for more than 3 months. And I like to say things are really not changed that much compared to the past. I'm still learning a lot from the community and trying to be helpful to the community. And it's been a great pleasure to do both of them. Yeah, so a little wrap up from my side. So join open source community is a great fun, and if you find the right one for you, you should join. And for me, I recommended VictoriaMetrics since it's definitely top notch, and by community, it's not limited by doing contribution on GitHub, you know, like pull request. Of course, you can do that as well. There are also other repo like operator and home chart that contain bugs and enhancement, which are good to get familiar with the community. And apart from the code, you can also join Slack, Telegram, and WeChat group if you want to speak Chinese to talk about stuff. Yeah, that's all of my story, and thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Haley. I think we are really lucky to have you in the team.
Yeah, thank you.
And Haley already delivered a lot of cool features to the VictoriaMetrics project. And yeah, I'm very thank you for this presentation and for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Dennis, and he will talk about community updates. I'm putting you on stage, Dennis.
Okay.
You are me. Okay.
1 moment. Okay. Good evening, good day, good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining us today. And I will share some interesting features from my side, from the community side. So my name is Dennis, as you see. So, and I'm working on VictoriaMetrics for a few years. As now I'm a community manager, marketing manager, and I will share some big or small stars, which is I think really interesting and could be useful for our community. So VictoriaMetrics is currently growing in popularity among the observability and monitoring community. In the latest year alone, the number of users of Slack has almost doubled and approached 3,000. The number of contributors has surpassed the 100 mark, which is really cool. In 2023, there were 39 releases. 22 of them are LTS, long-term support. In these releases for the last year, there were 262 features, which is really big number of features, and more than 3,000 of bug fixes. for the last year, the number of stars received is also stably growing, which testifies to the interest of users and growing popularity in the observability and monitoring community. According to GitHub stars, VictoriaMetrics products are also popular among IT industry giants such as Tencent, ByteDance, Alibaba, Google, IBM, Shopify, and many others, which is really cool. And what I see that the count of issues over the time, number of issues opened and closed, keeps pace with the number of open issues. So it's mostly like the same. And as well, the number of pull requests that have been merged. Maybe you want to know who are our participants. And based on GitHub, we can assume that users who opened issues most likely send a pull request to fix these issues or fix bugs, maybe improve code base and documentation. And also, I would like to highlight and thank to our commentators and contributors who create issues and send pull requests, which allows us to improve VictoriaMetrics, make it useful for everyone. And if anyone has any ideas or suggestions that are community related, so please ping me in any social media via Telegram, Twitter, Reddit, Slack, anyway, and we can plan for the next year what we can do with you. And thank you. And I yield the floor to Jean-Jérôme. Jean-Jérôme, please.
Yeah, thanks, Denise. And so to continue on the community side of things and the news side of things, some wiki news, and first of all, some content that our team published this quarter. We started 2 new blog series. The first one is on performance optimization techniques in time series databases. And it's based on a talk that Roman gave during GopherCon in Berlin earlier this summer. And it's a joint blog post series by Roman and Alex. And you can see we're on the 4th, there's 4 blog posts in that series. And I highly recommend reading it, especially if you're a Go developer. I think you'll be really interested in this. And then our colleagues Fedir and Daria mentioned this earlier, but we also have a blog series on anomaly detection, which is on its 3rd post. After introductions, we talked about anomaly types and techniques and models, and there'll be more posts coming in that series. Our colleague Zakar then published a blog post on monitoring Kubernetes costs with open cost in VictoriaMetrics, which was also really well read. And we talked about long-term support releases earlier. You have a blog post about them also and the current state of our long-term releases that you can find here. And then finally, we have 2 more business-focused blogs, but we talked about our 2023 momentum because we actually passed over 300 million downloads now since we published this blog post, but we are growing at over 300% as well, business growth. And finally, but not last, we also talked a good bit about VictoriaMetrics Enterprise earlier. We've just announced that there is a free trial available of VictoriaMetrics Enterprise, so you can go and sign up for a trial of our enterprise version of VictoriaMetrics if you would like to test it. And we recommend you do so, of course, if that's something that that you might need. And you can just either go to this blog post or just our website and look for Enterprise and get started with your trial there. And then next, we had some nice press coverage also in the tech news. First off, there was a really good article that was published just last week by the Register. And there we talked with one of the journalists there on different topics, including open source licensing and why we use Apache, why we will stay open source. It's a great article to read, and other articles covered our enterprise trial release announcement in Datanami, in Computer Weekly also. In Enterprise Times, they talked about our 2023 growth success story. And finally, this is a print magazine, Linux Pratique in France, and it's our first cover of a printed magazine, which is really cool. And but I think we can only get it in France, so we wanted to bring this up. And the article was written by one of our community users in France, Julien Briot, who works for a really interesting organization called Les Restos du Cœur. It's a charity organization that he volunteers for, and he wrote this article, which is now published in print. And finally, I wanted to let you know where you can see us or meet us next year. We do have a few events lined up already. First of all, and that's a first kind of introduction to it, but we are organizing a meetup at Deutsche Bank in Berlin with Andrey, who spoke earlier. And once we have the details for that, we will share them with you. This will be the 1st of February. And then our team will be in Brussels at FOSDEM on the 3rd and 4th of February. And then we will be sponsoring KubeCon twice, again next year, first of all in Paris, middle of March, and then in Salt Lake City in November. And we look forward to seeing you, of course, at any of those events. And finally, just a pointer of where you can find us on social media, which leads us to the kind of, the background topic to today's meetup, because we are also celebrating 5 years of VictoriaMetrics. And so it's great to have all of you here for that. And maybe all the speakers can now come back onto the stage, so we can, toast together to the flag. If anyone wants to sing, feel free to. But so I don't know if you can see this, but I got some candles, and I think most of you have drinks also. So if you have a drink at home, feel free to toast with us. But here's to the 5 years of VictoriaMetrics, and to many more. Thanks to all of you for making this happen. And cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Happy birthday.
Cheers.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. This year.
Happy birthday.
And thanks again to all our speakers, especially guest speakers, to join this celebration today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us.
That was very kind of you. Yeah.
Yeah,
So cheers.
it was cool.
Happy birthday. And I think that opens the AMA session.
Yes. So from the chat, we have only one question. And Alex probably already answered that. I will quickly show what he answered, and then we can discuss something between ourselves. So Marcus asked, what is the best way to migrate from Graphite to VictoriaMetrics with minimal impact, considering built-in Graphite functions? So the short answer is that VictoriaMetrics supports both ingestion protocol and query API from Graphite. So it's just a matter of copying data in, and that's it. And yeah, and Alex posted some useful links to our docs. So I hope this answers your question, Marcus. Okay. So how did it go for invited guests to give a talk like that? Like I myself, I'm always worrying about about such events, and when you it is very different when you give a talk to the live audience. When you see who you're speaking to, you see reactions, and comparing to what I have right now, or when I had my part, it was the first presentation. I'm usually like having a thought that probably my internet connection gone off or whatever, and I'm just talking to a wall, or to just a laptop, and nothing happens. And it's like this weird feeling that you're alone speaking with yourself.
For me, I have a very small experience with giving a talk about technical mistake, but I did it like twice in our office for live audience. Of course, it's much different, very different experience, but this on live stream is more serious for me, because it's like you are going to history of YouTube. Everybody will see it and can see it again. So you should carefully choose what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, but actually such talks which are touching history, they are usually touching something personal, and personal things like this person decided this, or this team decided that, and here's how it's gone for them. Here's what they get in result. This usually more interesting than giving just raw technical talks about how to put bytes from one buffer to another buffer. I know Alex likes such kind of talks, but I personally prefer such more like talks for human beings.
Like, I thought, what can I tell about my cluster? It's very simple. It's just VictoriaMetrics cluster configuration, just work. What's interesting, what's special, but it's just work. Is just like work is intended. Nothing to talk about.
That's the best feedback that we can receive.
Yeah, probably you don't have idea how much Alex pushes back too many features for the sake of simplicity, or by just I don't know. We spent a lot of time talking about how to keep product simple, because if you take in a retrospective, each product becomes more and more complex with time. It's just how universe works. Everything tries to decompose itself. Like everything become more and more complex, and so do VictoriaMetrics, unfortunately, but we're trying to resist it as much as possible.
Thank you very much for this effort. That's really important indeed. Like, have you heard about Kubernetes maintainer, as far as I remember, who recently gave a talk that Kubernetes is too complex that even a few developers could understand it really good. How it works, how it slow down development of the product, because very few people can really understand it deeply.
Yeah, that's I don't know how to react. Is it good or bad? Whatever. I watched recently a podcast with Kelsey Hightower and Dotan Horowitz, and Kelsey, from my point of view, had an interesting idea. Is that Kubernetes can follow the same way as Linux did, as a big open source project which powers a lot of software development in the world. But comparing to Linux, it didn't make its evolvement to the next stage. And the next stage of this evolution for the product should be that everyone need to stop talking about Kubernetes. Like Linux just exists and it works, and it's like we take it for granted. It is so simple. You can't imagine doing something without Linux, and everything works smoothly and as you expect. But Kubernetes is not there yet. If we will stop talking about Kubernetes and it will just translate into something transparent like that, like technologies that everyone used to, and it's simple to understand, everything works, then we can say that Kubernetes evolved to this cool project. When it disappears, when Kubernetes disappears, it means it did its thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have a couple of new questions in our chat.
Yeah. Okay. Hala asks, regarding the vmagent, is there a roadmap or a plan to incorporate port discovery functionality? Currently, it relies on static ports, and I'm curious about any potential advancements in this area. Alex, do you want to cover this?
Yeah, let me cover. It is unclear what is port discovery. I didn't hear this phrase before, so probably we have some feature request about this port discovery, which I'm unaware of. If not, then probably Hala was asking about service discovery, and vmagent already supports different service discoveries, which Prometheus supports, and it also supports other service discoveries. And I already posted a link and to the configure to the documentation about supported service discoveries for VictoriaMetrics for vmagent. So you can read this, or how you can add additional details. What do you mean under port discovery?
If I'm not mistaken, most of service discoveries provide you as meta labels both host name and port. So you can assemble or relabel or override those meta labels. So basically, you can discover as many targets with custom ports as service discovery gives you, right? Yeah.
Let's go to the next question from Hala.
Yep, the next question, I would like an update on the progress of the integration between Victoria logs and Grafana.
Let me cover this. We had planned to add missing functionality to Victoria logs till the end of this year, but these plans didn't happen, unfortunately. So all these roadmap features from Victoria logs are postponed to the next quarter. So I hope these features, including this Victoria logs integration with Grafana, will be available in the next quarter. And regarding the support of Victoria logs and in Grafana, we decided to create our own data source, which will be specialized solely on Victoria logs, and it will provide the most functionality, most useful functionality for Victoria logs in this way.
Yes, thank you, Alex. Yeah, we have no new questions. Okay, Alex, how did you like the talks? Which talk inspired you the most?
I liked every talk from you guys. Thanks for external users of VictoriaMetrics for your talks. It was very interesting to hear how you use VictoriaMetrics. And I also liked the talk from Haley. It was very inspiring how she got to become VictoriaMetrics developer. And I hope this talk will be inspired will inspire other users of VictoriaMetrics to become more active contributors to VictoriaMetrics, and then later probably they can become also developers of VictoriaMetrics, full-time developers, I mean.
Okay, thank you, Alex. So there is another question about, guess what? VictoriaLogs. So will you release clustered version of VictoriaLogs during next quarter?
Yeah, the answer is it depends. The cluster version of VictoriaLogs is in our roadmap, and I hope that it will get to this cluster version of VictoriaMetrics in the next quarter. But let's see.
Thank you, Alex. Okay.
That's interesting, though. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Eugene.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, Eric, you asked the question, but have you tried VictoriaLogs already, the version that's already out there? And is that why you're asking? Maybe you can let us know. It'd be interesting to hear.
Yeah, while Eric is answering this question, I can say that I suggest trying single node VictoriaLogs right now, because it is very optimized compared to Elasticsearch and Grafana Loki. It can store much bigger amounts of data than Elasticsearch, single node Elasticsearch or single node Loki can handle. So it can replace pretty big clusters of Elasticsearch and Loki. So give a try of single node VictoriaLogs, and you will be impressed.
Yeah, by the way, we're already trying it internally. Ivan probably knows more. I guess his team is using.
Yeah, that's true. So managed VictoriaMetrics is using already VictoriaLogs internally. Yeah, and pretty successfully. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, thank you. I know that Alex usually, Alex is more like a fan of simple solutions. So he usually insists on users to try VictoriaMetrics single first before using cluster, because single is pretty powerful single binary tool, and you don't need to bother about all this distributed systems complexity when you run it. So we have one of our big users. It's wix.com. They have a case study published on our in our docs/case study, and they are using solely single nodes, and they handling, like, I don't remember, it's a couple of millions of ingestion rate per second, and from 50 to 100 active time series, 50 to 100 million of active time series on a single node. Yeah, so it's, when we talk about scalability, it's not always a cluster. Yeah, and sometimes it's better to think about simplicity and reliability of the things that you run. It could outweigh pros of having this, of having a promise that you will scale someday to like the biggest cluster, you know, from with 100 of nodes. Yeah, so another question about VictoriaLogs. Alex, we are lucky we have you.
Yeah, thanks for all these questions about VictoriaLogs. It looks like that there is high demand for VictoriaLogs, and sorry for delaying the features which we promised to VictoriaLogs. As for object storage, this feature is in our roadmap, and this feature has lower priority than cluster support of VictoriaLogs and other missing features which are mentioned in VictoriaLogs. But after we add cluster support to VictoriaLogs, we will go to implementing this object storage support in VictoriaLogs. And let me post a link to our roadmap on VictoriaLogs, so you can look it and investigate it.
Okay, thank you, Alex. By the way, I have a more like a hype-driven question. What do you guys think about artificial intelligence in observability? I know we talked a lot about anomaly detection, but let's say about if at some point we can use some products of OpenAI or something like that. What is the applicability of these powerful models in observability space?
I think there are two areas where we can use OpenAI or something like that. The first area is assistant for technical documentation about VictoriaMetrics products. So people could type their questions into some assistant powered by these large language models, and this assistant could return them quite good questions, which will help reducing a lot on our technical support. And the second area when this OpenAI can help us is anomaly detection. I think that probably it can understand better, figure out better than ordinary user correlation between different metrics, anomalies in large amounts of metrics, and it can make it more easier compared to making it by hand. That's two areas where I think that OpenAI can help us. Probably you have other ideas.
I'm actually not that much into topic. I do not understand many things about that, but I have a question. Maybe anybody can answer on it. So we think that some language model, or I don't know, something that OpenAI provides or Microsoft, or Google will provide. This is something that can answer your question. It can fetch a lot of data. It can process it, build its neural connection, and then answer to your question based on the data it consumed and processed. But if we take as example how a human works, how an engineer works, you also consume a lot of information, you also process it, you also build these neural links in your head. But there is one thing which differentiates engineer, human, from machine. You can try things to verify your hypothesis. So you had a question, and then you have an answer on that question, but you are not sure if that answer is correct, right? So you can verify its correctness. You can try your hypothesis. You can run a query, and you can check its result. Or maybe it's not a query. Maybe you need to check log, or maybe to try something else to verify if the code was updated in the Git repo like 10 minutes ago, and this caused the problem. So you can verify your hypothesis. It's an additional manual action a human can make. And I'm not sure if language model can do any such actions.
I think that AI will be able to make these actions and other actions which typical human can make. And I think that this will happen in the next year, in the next few years. So we will get this general AI, and after that, this general AI could make everything what a human can make, and additionally, on top of this, it could make any other things which we are not aware right now. I hope these things will not hurt humanity, but let's see.
Yeah, by the way, OpenAI has started this practice. They have so-called, I forgot the exact word, code interpreter. And when you ask it to produce something, and when it's unsure, then it runs separate environment when it tries to execute proposed solution or proposed code on some fake data. And when it fails, it tries to rerun the configuration. And once it's happy, until some resources are spent, then it returns with corrected and validated answer. So I assume it's a matter of years for it to become more well spread on different areas, not just on pure Python that I used too much, but also on different kind of validations, as Roman mentioned before, like whether it was a pull on GitHub, whether it was some other type of issue. So I assume generalized intelligence will face it in our ways.
Yeah, but imagine a real scenarios that we face every day when we are answering users' questions. So imagine I'm on the support and I get in the question like, how can I, what query can I use to calculate the speed of changing of one specific metric? So you get this question, you heard it a lot, and you have an instant answer on that. Please use rate and metric selector, and you give this answer to a user. User tries it and reports you, no, it is not that I expected to get. So you got an it's not this question doesn't satisfy this user. So what you can do, you can ask him to get the example of data and try that query and then figure out what is wrong. But how to do this with AI, with some model, like how language model can verify that the provided answer is correct. It needs to run it. It needs to check the data. It needs access to your data, right?
Usually language model acts in a dialogue with the customer, and they also learn from so-called reinforcement learning with human feedback technique. That's why OpenAI has so many dialogues. When you answer some question, when you are given some answer, and if you're not satisfied, you continue to start asking additional questions or giving more context. And I assume GPT-4 is pretty decent in this so-called support of revealing additional information to better address initial questions. So once initial query was incorrect, it will try to understand more context, and it will try to, I don't know, to fix, to adapt to recent changes. So it's not just about one-shot answer, it's just about dialogue. And for now, it's being used in textual way or more constrained way. In the future, maybe we'll have some direct interfaces. So by the way, it's increased, and we can ask directly the model, but actually we'll be talking with ourselves in our own brain. But by the way, there was a news that there were artificial human brain, which is so-called biocomputer. So biopunk is coming as well, not only cyberpunk. So I don't know which comes earlier.
Actually, I have a prediction that at some point we before getting a health insurance, we will need to wear some health metrics collector on our bodies for a year or a couple of years, and then based on that telemetry that insurance company collects, they will name you the price for the insurance, like they do for the cars. So you put some meters on the car, and they can measure like how are you a careful driver? And based on that, they will sell you insurance with different price. If you're riding carefully and you're not exceeding speed limits, then you will have lower insurance. I imagine it will happen in the same way for a health insurance.
Yeah. And all we know what is the best ecosystem for metric collection. So,
yeah.
I think Apple Watch is already doing this. If the insurance company can get Apple Watch data, they will get my update.
Maybe they use vmagent in the Apple Watch for any user.
So that means like for funny smokers or for the people who drink a bit of alcohol, they would have to stop drinking and smoking for a year to influence the price of their health insurance. So you'd have to trick it like that. And I just see here that Erika is saying that in his company, AI is one of the big topics for the next few years at all levels. Egor or Andrey, is that something that you're seeing in your workplace also? Is it a big topic?
No, we only use it in private mode. It's not a company's theme to discuss or to use. I hope that we will use machine learning as well in new services. But anyway, we already use the VM storage to collect metrics, and it is a very big step forward.
But by the way, Roman, I have one question not dedicated to work about how all of it started 5 years ago. I know there exists some publishings around it, but maybe you have some cool stories about how it happened.
Well, I do. Well, I can.
Which
tell
can
story
be shared
how I met.
publicly.
Yeah, I can tell story how I met Alex. Actually, it was fun. I was working in Kyiv, Ukraine, for one company doing ad networking, and I was a PHP developer. I was doing some very boring stuff, and I was unhappy with what I was doing with PHP and the tasks given to me. But it was like I wasn't experienced at all at that point of view, and I was just happy to have a job. And that company started to so they had a problem with performance of their servers to process all the ad clicks, and they hired really like skillful senior engineers to rewrite those in Scala. And Scala, for those who don't know, it's pretty complex language, and they usually tells that you need a master's degree to write in Scala. So it's already assumes that you're pretty intelligent if you're using Scala. I wasn't intelligent to use Scala, so I was just sticking to PHP. Yeah, and those guys, there were a couple of them. They spent like half an hour half a year or a year to write a server in Scala. They had all this, the process, all tasks in the backlog. They go in sprints, all procedures aligned. And then at some point, I don't know who hired Alex, but someone hired Alex, and he was just a new guy, and he was writing in Go. And Alex wrote that server in 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So he replaced the work of of the whole team with 2 weeks. And they then compared the status of both projects, and they decided to go with what Alex wrote. And this is how Go as a language was introduced to that company, and eventually I switched to Go as well, switched from PHP to Go. And if I'm not mistaken, this company still continue to use Go.
Yeah, by the way, it's an interesting detail that the FastHTTP project has been appeared right at the same time, and I created this FastHTTP product because the standard HTTP server from Go could not keep up with number of requests per second which should be served at this company. So thanks to this company, a fast HTTP project has been appeared.
Yeah, so this is how we met. I eventually started to work with Alex, and he was like teaching me how to write in Go. Yeah, and that's when he started to like, you're doing a pull request, and then Alex rewrote it completely afterwards. Yeah, this is how it started. And the VictoriaMetrics project started in the similar way. In the same company, we had a challenge with scaling Postgres to basically, yeah, scaling Postgres. Alex tried a lot of clever techniques how Postgres can be improve performance of the Postgres. It worked more or less. It was failing like once a month. It was a system that you can't leave for a couple of weeks. It will not survive without touching it all the time. And at the time, we found this open source project called ClickHouse, which was pretty promising on the docs, on the performance tests. So we tried that as a, I don't know, just as a side project, just to test how it will behave, and it showed pretty great performance. So Postgres cluster was replaced with a ClickHouse cluster in a matter of weeks or something like that. It took like a couple of weeks to replace completely it. And ClickHouse inspired Alex to do this similar thing for monitoring space. At the time, we used Prometheus to monitor these servers that Alex wrote, and to monitor ClickHouse and every other services that company ran. And Prometheus was pretty good, but while company grew, the amount of services it runs also increased, the amount of requests served also increased, and the one Prometheus server wasn't able to handle that. And there were no way to scale Prometheus at that time. It was still a Prometheus 1 version. It was not 2 yet. And yeah, so the idea to replace Prometheus came from this good impression from ClickHouse project. So Alex used some of those ideas to build a prototype of VictoriaMetrics, and he did it like in a hard way. So he quit the job and spent like 6 months writing the prototype. Yeah, and then he shared it with, I don't know, he asked if I would like to join, and then Artyom, and yeah, this is how it started.
Thanks for sharing, Roman. Such a neat story.
Yeah, the point of this story is that do not afraid of challenges. Challenges are always a good thing.
Challenge is not the question, it's an answer.
Yeah.
Is Dima here?
Yes, he is, but he is not in stage.
He was requested to tell his story as well. If he can.
Yeah, Dima can add him on the stage. Maybe he's just away, so I won't add in him forcefully.
Yeah, it's early morning for him.
No, we do not hear you.
Oh, sorry. For that person who writes in the comments here, all these comments, they are going to YouTube translation. Like this message is, do you hear me? And I'm here. These are not for private chat. These are for public chat. So they all got copied to YouTube stream. So be careful with that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did the same mistake. No worries in the beginning.
Well, but how do I talk? I can't say.
You're already talking. You're already talking. We all hear you.
Oh, okay, because I was talking before and apparently you didn't hear me. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so basically I wanted to share my story, how I met Alex back in 2003, I believe that was. So I was writing some code or reading some code that was PHP back in the day. It was very bad code, or maybe I just perceive it that way because every code that you haven't written yourself, it's a very bad code. So, but there was an author and there was an email in that code. So I wrote, it was Valhalla something, and I wrote like, "Hey, dude, you cannot try it that way." So yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah, I remember
it was
this,
a productive relationship.
the email from you, yes. But as I remember, this code was in Perl, not in PHP. But probably some part of this code was in Perl and some part in PHP. But it was 20 years ago, so I didn't remember.
Yep. I think I still have some pieces of that code.
Cool. Could you share this code with me?
Wouldn't you be ashamed? No?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you, Ivan.
Sorry, Ivan.
Yeah, I said that we can try to rewrite this Perl code in Go using OpenAI. So imagine how the history goes from bad code in Perl to AI capable of rewriting from one language into another and probably describing what this Perl code does. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds exciting.
Well, you probably need super intelligence for that.
Okay, I think we ran out of time. It is 8 p.m. already. And the meetup took 2 hours. It was, I think it was the best meetup we ever had for VictoriaMetrics community. Thanks again for all guests who gave their presentations, their slides, their talks. I think it's a really great experience. We encourage everyone who want to share their story on our next meetup. We really appreciate this. It's really cool. So yeah, please let us know if you want to participate. And yeah, thanks again to everyone. And I hope you will have a good evening or the good rest of the day, depending on where you are.
Thank you, Roman.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you very much, guys, for being here, for listening.
Thank you.
Have a great time.
Thanks.